Ladies, picture this. I'm standing in a control room at SpaceX, the air thick with tension, screens blazing with data streams, orbital trajectories, thrust vectors, fuel pressures. My heart's pounding like a rocket engine at full burn, every nerve wired to the mission at hand. A Falcon Heavy's about to roar into the sky, carrying humanity's dreams on its back, and I'm the guy supposed to make sure it doesn't crash and burn. The clock's ticking, my team's shouting updates, and the weight of the future feels like it's pressing down on my chest. This is my world chaos, ambition, the relentless pursuit of the impossible. And then, in a fleeting moment, I think of her. Her face cuts through the noise like a signal from a distant star, and suddenly, I'm not just fighting for Mars or humanity. I'm fighting a different battle, one I've been dodging my whole life. I love her, but there's a wall, a towering, invisible barrier between my heart and the mission I believe God Himself handed me. How do I choose? How do I tear down that wall when everything I've built, everything I am, is tied to this calling? Ladies, have you ever stood on the other side of someone's obsession, waiting for them to see you, to choose you? That's where I'm at right now, and I'm here to take you into the storm of that moment, the moment I realized I might lose her, not to distance or time, but to my own inability to break through. Let me set the stage. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who spent his life chasing stars, building machines that defy gravity, and dreaming of a future where humanity isn't just stuck on this pale blue dot. SpaceX is pushing the boundaries of what's possible, launching rockets that land themselves on floating platforms in the middle of the ocean. Tesla is fighting to electrify the planet, to make gas-guzzling cars a relic of the past. Neuralink's wiring brains to computers, trying to unlock the next stage of human evolution. It's exhilarating, it's maddening, it's my life. And every day I'm wrestling with problems that seem impossible: rocket engines that overheat, battery cells that won't scale, skeptics who say I'm crazy to think we can live on Mars, and I thrive on it. I'm wired to solve problems, to tear them apart until they bend to my will. Give me a failing battery, a rocket that won't launch, a physics puzzle that stumped everyone else, and I'll dive in head first. No sleep, no hesitation, just pure, relentless drive. But then there's her. One glance, one quiet smile, and the universe I've spent my life trying to conquer feels like it's holding its breath. My heart, that stubborn thing I've ignored for years, decides it's time to stage a rebellion. And I'm standing there, the guy who's supposed to have all the answers, frozen like a deer in headlights. Why can't I just say it? 3 words. I love you. Simple, right? But they're trapped behind a wall taller than any rocket I've ever built, thicker than the steel hull of a starship. It's not just a wall of work or deadlines, it's a fortress I've constructed brick by brick, year by year, out of ambition, fear, and the belief that my mission, this divine calling to save humanity, has to come first. Ladies, you know this feeling, don't you? You've stood there, strong, patient, waiting for someone to step out of their world of dreams and see you really see you. You've poured your heart into loving someone who's so caught up in their mission, their work, their chaos, that they forget to show up for you. I'm guilty of that. I've been that guy, the one who thought he could put love on hold while he chased the stars. And I'm here to tell you, it almost cost me everything. Let's go deeper. I'm in my office at Tesla's Fremont factory. It's late, the place is a ghost town. The assembly lines are silent, the hum of machines long gone. I'm staring at a spreadsheet, crunching numbers that could make or break the next quarter. My phone's dark, no notifications, no distractions, but my mind's racing. Not about the numbers, though. About her. I've been dodging her calls, sending one-word texts, telling myself I'll make it up to her when things calm down. But things never calm down, do they? There's always another crisis, another deadline, another reason to keep the wall up. I see her face in my mind, not angry, not sad, just tired, tired of waiting for me to show up, to be more than the guy who's always chasing the next impossible thing. I'm at a crossroads, and I know it. I can keep building this wall, keep pushing her away, or I can take the biggest risk of my life and tear it down. But tearing it down means facing something I've avoided my whole life: vulnerability. It means admitting that I need her, that she's not just a part of my life, but the reason it has meaning. And that scares the hell out of me. I've built my identity around being the guy who doesn't need anyone, the problem solver, the visionary who can stare down failure and keep going. I've faced bankruptcy at Tesla, watched rockets explode on the pad, stood up to critics who said I'd never pull it off, and I kept going because failure in business is just data, analyze it, iterate, rebuild. But failure in love, that's personal. That cuts to the core. It's not a rocket I can redesign or a battery I can tweak. It's her, the woman who makes every insane dream feel possible. and I'm terrified that letting her in will dull the edge that's kept me going. What if love makes me soft? What if it slows me down, pulls me away from this mission I believe God put me here to fulfill? That's the wall, ladies. It's not just the late nights or the endless meetings. It's the fear that if I let myself feel, if I let myself need her, I'll lose the fire that's driven me to change the world. Let's talk about that mission for a second. I believe deep in my bones that I was put on this earth to do something bigger than myself, to make humanity multiplanetary, to ensure we don't go extinct on this fragile planet, to build a future where we're not just surviving but thriving among the stars. It's a calling that wakes me up at 3 in the morning, that keeps me going through sleepless nights and impossible odds. It's why I've poured my soul into SpaceX, into Tesla, into ideas that most people called insane. And I've always thought that mission had to come first, that everything else, love, family, connection, could wait until I'd secured humanity's future. But here's the trap I fell into, and maybe you've seen it in the people you love. I thought I could outrun my heart. I thought I could schedule love like it was a meeting, something I'd get to after I'd solved world hunger or landed a rocket on Mars. But love doesn't wait for your calendar to clear. It doesn't care if you're Elon Musk or just some guy down the street. It demands you show up now, or it slips away. Ladies, I know you get this. You've waited for someone to see you, to choose you over their work, their dreams, their ego. You've stood there, strong as steel, hoping they'd realize the real mission isn't out there in the stars, but right in front of them. And I'm guilty. I let her wait. I let her wonder if she was just another variable in my equation, something I could optimize later. I was so busy calculating escape velocities and battery efficiencies that I forgot to calculate the cost of my silence. Every day, I didn't tell her how I felt, was a day I risked losing her forever. And let me tell you, no rocket launch, no billion-dollar deal, no headline feels as heavy as the thought of losing someone you love because you were too stubborn to speak. Picture this moment. It's a quiet night, and I'm supposed to meet her for dinner, just the two of us, no phones, no laptops. I promised her I'd be there, but then a crisis hits at SpaceX. Our rocket's fuel system is acting up, and the launch window's closing fast. I tell her, just 5 minutes, I'll be there. 5 minutes turns into an hour, then two. When I finally look up, she's still there, sitting quietly across from me, but her eyes tell a different story. There's a distance in them, a quiet hurt that cuts deeper than any failed launch. I've added another brick to the wall, and I can feel it growing taller, pushing her further away. I want to tear it down, to tell her she means more to me than any mission, but my mouth won't move. My mind's too busy running simulations, optimizing outcomes, everything except the one thing that matters her. That's the thing about ambition. It's a double-edged sword. It drives you to do impossible things, build a rocket that lands itself, make a car that runs on sunlight, wire a brain to a computer, but it also blinds you to the human cost. I was so focused on the big picture that I missed the small moments, the way her hand brushed mine, the way her laugh could pull me out of a spiral, the way her presence made every insane deadline feel manageable. I thought I could compartmentalize love, tuck it away in a corner of my mind while I dealt with the important stuff. But love doesn't work that way. It's not a side project, it's the main event. And every time I pushed it aside, I was pushing her away, building that wall higher, thicker, until it felt like an impenetrable fortress. I remember one night we were supposed to go for a walk along the California coast, just the two of us, no distractions, just the sound of waves and her voice. I promised her I'd be there. But then a call came in, a Tesla production line was stalling, investors were breathing down my neck, and I was staring at numbers that could sink the company. I told her, I'll be there in an hour. An hour turned into 3, then 5, then a text at midnight saying, I'm sorry, something came up. She didn't reply. And when I saw her the next day, that distance in her eyes was back, a quiet hurt that felt like a punch to the gut. I'd built another brick in the wall, and I could feel her slipping away. Ladies, you've felt this, haven't you? You've loved someone who's so caught up in their mission, whether it's a job, a dream, or just their own head that they forget to see you. You've poured your heart into being there, supporting them, believing in them, only to feel like you're shouting into a void. I've been that guy. I've been the one who thought love could wait, that I could put her on hold while I fixed the world. But here's where it gets real. That moment, that quiet hurt in her eyes, it woke me up. It was like a rocket misfiring, a failure I couldn't ignore. I realized I was at a crossroads not just between her and my work, but between who I was and who I needed to be. I could keep building this wall, keep telling myself that my mission from God was all that mattered, or I could start tearing it down. I could choose to be the guy who shows up, who says what's in his heart, who admits that even the man trying to save humanity needs someone to save him from himself. That's the battle I'm fighting, ladies, and I know you've fought it too. You've stood on the other side of someone's wall, waiting for them to climb over to choose you. And I'm here to tell you, I built that wall higher than I ever meant to, not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't know how to stop running long enough to show it. This isn't just about me, though. This is about you, the women in this room, the women who've loved fiercely, who've waited patiently, who've wondered if they're enough. You are enough. You are more than enough. You are the fire that lights up the world, the strength that holds families together, the heart that makes every dream worth chasing, and you don't have to wait for someone else to break through their walls. You have the power to demand, to be seen, to be loved, to be valued, not tomorrow, not when the mission's done, but right now. I'm learning that the hard way, and I'm here to share that lesson with you. The mission from God, the one that keeps me up at night, it's not just about rockets or Mars or saving the world. It's about her. It's about you. It's about the love that gives every insane dream its purpose. I want to take you back to a moment that hit me like a meteor. We were in a small cafe in Palo Alto, one of those cozy spots with mismatched chairs and overpriced coffee. I'd promised her a real conversation. No phones, no distractions, just us. But my mind was still on the launch pad, still wrestling with 1,000 problems I thought were bigger than us. She was talking, her voice soft but steady, telling me about her day, her dreams, the little things that make a life. And I was half there nodding, but my brain was running simulations for a Starship booster. She stopped mid-sentence, looked at me and said, "Elon, are you even here?" Those words cut through me like a laser. I saw it in her eyes, not anger, not even sadness, but something worse, resignation, like she was done waiting for me to show up, like she was ready to walk away. I've faced failures before, rockets exploding, production lines grinding to a halt, critics laughing at my dreams. Those sting, but I know how to fight them. I analyze, I iterate, I rebuild. But this was different. This wasn't a machine I could fix or a problem I could solve with a late night coding session. This was her, the woman who made every insane dream feel possible, and I was losing her not to a crash, but to my own inability to be present. In that moment, I saw the truth. No rocket, no factory, no algorithm could fill the void of losing her. I'd spent years calculating escape velocities, but the real escape I needed was from my own head, from the wall I'd built around my heart. Ladies, you've been there, haven't you? You've sat across from someone you love, pouring your heart out, hoping they'll meet you halfway. You've waited for them to see you, not as a partner in their grand plan, but as the reason their plan has meaning. And I know how unfair that feels. You're strong, you're brilliant, you're the ones who hold the world together when it's falling apart. You deserve someone who shows up, who chooses you, who says the words you're longing to hear. And I was failing her. I was failing myself. That cafe moment was my wake-up call, the moment I realized I couldn't keep running from my heart. I had to choose her, or the wall I'd built to keep her out. That's where the story starts, ladies. It's not just about rockets, or missions, or divine callings. It's about the human struggle to balance ambition with love, to tear down the walls we build around our hearts, to show up for the people who make life worth living. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who's supposed to have all the answers, but I'm standing here admitting I don't. I'm still learning how to love, how to be present, how to choose her without losing sight of the mission God gave me. And I'm here to tell you, if I can face that wall, if I can start chipping away at it, you can too. You don't have to wait for someone else to break through. You are the spark, the fire, the force that changes everything. So let's dive into this journey together into the mess of a hard cop between ambition and love, and why that wall almost cost me everything. Ladies, let's dive into the heart of the beast, ambition. It's a fire that burns so hot it can light up the world or burn everything you hold dear to ashes. I'm Elon Musk, and I've spent my life feeding that fire, pouring every ounce of my soul into dreams that most people call impossible. Building rockets to colonize Mars, crafting electric cars to save the planet, wiring human brains to merge with machines. This is the fuel that gets me out of bed when I haven't slept in days. It's a relentless, all-consuming force, like a rocket engine roaring at full thrust, pushing me to defy gravity, skeptics, and the limits of what anyone thinks is possible. But ambition has a shadow side, a cost that's not measured in dollars or sleepless nights. It's the cost of the moments you miss, the people you sideline, the love you push to the back burner because you're too busy chasing the stars. That's where I was, ladies, lost in the blaze of my own dreams, believing I could keep her waiting while I answered what I thought was a divine call. And I'm here to tell you that fire almost consumed the one thing that made it all worth burning for her. Have you ever loved someone so caught up in their mission that they forgot to see you? Let's walk through the inferno of ambition together and see why it nearly cost me everything. Picture me in the SpaceX factory in Hawthorne, California. The air smells of burnt coffee and metal, the kind of place where dreams are welded into reality. It's 2 in the morning, and I'm hunched over a laptop, tweaking code for a landing algorithm that could make or break our next launch. My team's arguing over thrust ratios, my phone's buzzing with emails from investors, and my brain's screaming about deadlines that could shift the future of humanity. This is my element: chaos, pressure, the edge of the impossible. I'm not just building rockets, I'm building a lifeline for our species, a way to ensure we don't go extinct when the next asteroid comes or the planet chokes on its own fumes. It's a mission I believe God put in my path, a calling that feels bigger than me, bigger than anything. Every fiber of my being is wired to this purpose, and I've poured everything into it, every waking hour, every thought, every heartbeat. But in that moment, as the screens glow and the clock ticks, I think of her. She's not here. She's miles away, maybe asleep, maybe wondering why I haven't called. And I tell myself I'll call tomorrow, that I'll make time when this launch is done, when the next milestone is hit. But tomorrow never comes, does it? There's always another crisis, another rocket, another reason to keep the fire burning. That's the trap of ambition, ladies. It's not just about the work or the hours. It's the belief that you can outrun the things that matter most. I thought I could schedule love like it was a board meeting, something I'd get to after I'd nailed the next big thing. I told myself I was doing it for the greater good, for humanity, for the mission God gave me. But what's the point of saving the world if you lose the one person who makes it worth saving? I was so deep in the fire that I didn't see the ashes piling up around me, the missed dinners, the unanswered texts, the quiet moments I traded for another hour in the lab. I remember one evening, we were supposed to meet at a little Italian place in Palo Alto, just the two of us, no laptops, no distractions. I'd promised her a night to just be us. But then a call came in. A battery supplier for Tesla was backing out, and production was about to grind to a halt. I told her I'd be there in 10 minutes. 10 minutes turned into an hour, then two, and by the time I got there, the restaurant was closing. She was sitting outside, her coat pulled tight against the chill, her eyes not angry but disappointed. That look hit harder than any failed test flight. I'd let the fire of ambition burn away another moment we could have had, and I could feel her slipping further away. Ladies, you know this feeling, don't you? You've been there waiting for someone to step out of their inferno and see you. You've poured your heart into loving someone who's so consumed by their dreams, whether it's a career, a passion, or just their own head, that they forget to show up for you. You've been the one holding space, being patient, believing in them, only to feel like you're invisible. I was that guy, the one who thought he could keep her on hold while he chased a mission bigger than both of us. But here's the truth I didn't see then. Ambition doesn't just burn you out, it burns the people you love. It blinds you to the small moments that matter, the way her smile could light up a room dimmer than any factory floor, the way her voice could calm the storm in my head, the way her presence made every impossible goal feel within reach. I was so focused on building a future for humanity that I forgot to build a present with her. Let's talk about that fire for a second. Ambition is a beast, a 12-ton rocket engine screaming for more fuel. It's what drove me to start SpaceX when everyone said reusable rockets were a pipe dream. It's what kept me going through Tesla's darkest days when we were weeks away from bankruptcy and every expert was betting against us. It's what pushes me to dream of Neuralink, of a world where our minds can connect directly to machines, unlocking possibilities we can't even imagine. That fire is why I've built companies that employ thousands, launched rockets that defy gravity, and dreamed of a future where humanity isn't trapped on one fragile planet. But that fire has a cost, and it's not just the sleepless nights or the missed birthdays. It's the moments you don't even realize you're missing, the dinners you cancel, the calls you don't make, the look in her eyes when she realizes you're not really there, even when you're sitting right across from her. I thought I was invincible, that I could juggle everything: work, dreams, love, without dropping a single ball. But you can't. Something always gives. And for me, it was her. I remember another night, one that still stings. We'd planned a quiet evening, just a walk through a park near the coast, the kind of place where the world feels soft and simple for a moment. I'd promised her I'd leave my phone in the car, that it'd be just us and the stars overhead. But then an email came in, a critical update on a Starship test that could set us back months if we didn't act fast. I told myself I'd just check it quick, just reply and be done. One email turned into a thread, then a call, then a full-blown crisis meeting over Zoom. When I finally looked up, the park was dark, the stars were out, but she was gone. Not physically, she was still there, sitting on a bench, staring at the ground, but I could see it in her posture, the way her shoulders slumped, the way she didn't look at me when I walked over. I'd lost her in that moment, not to another person or a fight, but to my own inability to put the fire out long enough to be there. Ladies, you felt this, haven't you? You've been the one waiting, holding on to hope, while someone you love gets lost in their own blaze. It's exhausting, it's unfair, and it makes you wonder if you're enough. Here's where I started to see the cracks in my own logic. I'd spent my life thinking ambition was the answer to everything. If I could just push harder, work longer, solve one more problem, I'd be closer to fulfilling this mission I felt called to. I told myself every sacrifice was worth it, that building a better future for humanity meant giving up the present. But what's the point of reaching Mars if you've left behind the one person who makes Earth worth staying on? I was so busy feeding the fire that I didn't see how it was burning her out of my life. Every time I chose a late night meeting over a phone call with her, every time I let a deadline drown out her voice, I was adding fuel to a blaze that was consuming us both. I thought I was doing it for something bigger: humanity, survival, God's plan. But the truth is, I was hiding behind the mission, behind the fire, because it was easier to chase the impossible than to face the one thing that scared me more than anything: needing her. That fear, that's the real fuel of the fire. It's not just ambition, it's the fear of slowing down, of admitting that you can't do it all alone, that you need someone to ground you, to remind you why you're fighting in the first place. I was terrified that if I let her in, if I let myself feel, I'd lose the edge that's kept me going. Building rockets isn't just a job, it's who I am. It's the fire that gets me through the darkest days, the failures, the critics who say I'm chasing fantasies. What if love put that fire out? What if needing her meant admitting I wasn't invincible? That's the lie I told myself, ladies, and I bet you've heard it from the people you love too. They tell themselves they can't stop, can't slow down, because the mission, whatever it is, comes first. But here's what I learned the hard way: the mission doesn't mean a damn thing if you're alone at the finish line. I want to take you into one more moment because it's where the fire started to shift. We were supposed to have a weekend away, just the two of us, a cabin in the mountains, no Wi Fi, no distractions. I'd promised her we'd unplug, that I'd be there, really there. But Friday night, as we're packing, a Neuralink prototype fails a critical test. The team's panicking, investors are asking questions, and I'm staring at data that could set us back years. I tell her I just need to make one call just to stabilize things. One call turns into a conference, then a red-eye flight back to the lab. I leave her a note promising I'll make it up to her. When I get back, days later, she's not mad, she's quiet. And that quiet is worse than any explosion I've ever seen. It's the silence of someone who's starting to give up, who's tired of competing with a mission that feels bigger than them. Ladies, you know that silence. You've lived it, felt it, carried it when the person you love chooses their fire over you, and I was the one causing it, feeding the blaze while she stood in the cold. That moment was a wake-up call, not because she yelled or walked away, but because I saw what my ambition was doing to her. I was so busy trying to save the world that I was losing the one person who made it worth saving. I started to question the fire itself, not the mission, but the way I was letting it burn. Was it really from God if it meant sacrificing her? Was it really my calling if it left me alone? I'd spent years thinking ambition was the answer, that if I just pushed harder, dreamed bigger, I'd fulfill this divine purpose. But the fire was blinding me to the truth. Love isn't a distraction from the mission. It's the reason the mission matters. Without her, all the rockets, all the factories, all the code, it's just noise. Ladies, you are the ones who understand this better than anyone. You've balanced your own fires, careers, families, dreams while keeping your hearts open. You've loved through the chaos, supported through the storms, and never stopped shining, even when the world tried to dim your light. You've shown me what it means to burn brightly without burning out the people you love. And I'm here to tell you, I'm learning from you. I'm learning that ambition doesn't have to mean sacrifice, that the fire can light the way instead of consuming it. You are the spark that makes every dream worth chasing, the strength that holds the world together, the heart that gives purpose to every insane goal. And you don't have to wait for someone else to see that. You don't have to stand in the shadow of their fire. You are the fire, and you have the power to burn so brightly that no one can look away. So here's my challenge to you, ladies, as I stand here wrestling with my own blaze. Don't let your fire consume the people you love, and don't let someone else's fire dim your own. You deserve to be seen, to be chosen, to be loved, not tomorrow, not when the mission's done, but right now. I'm still learning how to tame this fire, how to let it burn without burning her out of my life, but I'm trying because she's worth it, you're worth it. And if I, Elon Musk, can stand here and admit that my ambition almost cost me everything, then you can take that step too. Keep your fire burning, but let it warm the ones you love, not push them away. That's the mission worth fighting for, the one that makes every star in the sky shine brighter. Ladies, let's get raw for a moment. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who's built rockets that touch the stars, cars that run on sunlight, and dreams that laugh in the face of skeptics. I've faced down bankruptcy, explosions, and entire industries betting against me, and I've kept charging forward, fueled by a mission I believe God Himself carved into my soul. But there's one thing that stopped me in my tracks, one barrier that no equation, no blueprint, no late night coding session could conquer. It's not a steel wall or a failing engine. It's an invisible wall built brick by brick from my own fears, the fear of being vulnerable, of needing someone, of admitting that even the guy trying to save humanity isn't enough on his own. That's the wall that stood between me and her, the woman who makes every insane dream feel possible. And it's a wall I know you've faced too, ladies, whether it's one you've built to protect your heart or one you've waited for someone to climb over. Let's tear into that fear together because it's the hidden engine behind the barrier that almost kept me from her. And it's the one thing we all need to face to live fully, love fiercely, and break through to the life we deserve. This invisible wall wasn't built in a day. It's the product of years spent convincing myself I could do it all alone. I've always prided myself on being the guy who doesn't need a safety net. Give me a rocket that won't launch, a battery that won't charge, or a world that says Mars is a fantasy, and I'll dive in headfirst 72 hours straight, sketching designs on napkins, arguing with engineers until we crack it. That's my comfort zone. Problems I can solve, risks I can calculate, outcomes I can control. But love doesn't play by those rules. It's wild, unpredictable, and it demands something I've never been good at. Letting go, letting someone see the real me, not the visionary, not the CEO, but the guy who doubts, who gets tired, who sometimes lies awake, wondering if he's enough. That's what scared me, ladies. The idea that if I let her in, if I let her see that side of me, she might walk away. Or worse, that needing her would mean admitting I'm not invincible, that the mission from God I've staked my life on might not be enough to fill the void in my heart. Picture this. I'm in a meeting room at SpaceX, surrounded by screens flashing data from a recent test flight. The team's dissecting every second of the launch, every anomaly, every variable. Um, my brain's running a million miles an hour, crunching numbers, spotting patterns, chasing solutions. This is where I shine, where I feel in control. But then I think of her and it's like someone flips a switch. My heart starts pounding, not from the thrill of the chase, but from the fear that I'm failing her. I want to call her to tell her how much she means to me, but the words stick in my throat. Why? Because saying them means tearing down that invisible wall, exposing the parts of me I've kept locked away, the parts that aren't bulletproof, that don't have a 5 year plan, that can't be optimized like a rocket's trajectory. I was terrified that if I let her see that side of me, the doubts, the exhaustion, the messy human underneath, she'd see a flaw in the design, a glitch in the system that is Elon Musk. Ladies, you know this fear, don't you? You've built your own walls, not out of steel or stone, but out of strength, independence, and the need to protect yourself from being let down. You've been the rock for others, families, friends, partners, holding everything together while wondering if anyone will ever see the soft heart beneath. You've loved someone who's built their own walls, who's so caught up in their mission they forget to let you in. And maybe you've hesitated to open up yourself, to show your own vulnerabilities because you're afraid it'll make you seem weak, like you're not the unstoppable force the world expects you to be. I get it. I've been on both sides. I've been the guy who thought vulnerability was a liability, a crack in the armor that could derail everything I've built. And I've been the one who built that armor higher and thicker every time I chose a deadline over a date, a launch over a late night talk, a mission over the woman who made it all mean something. Let's go back to a moment that still haunts me. We were at her place, just the two of us, sitting on her couch with the kind of quiet that feels like it could hold the whole world. She was talking about her dreams, not the kind that involve rockets or factories, but the kind that make a life. A trip she wanted to take, a project she was passionate about, the little things that light up her soul. And I was there, physically, but my mind was halfway across the planet wrestling with a Neuralink prototype that wasn't syncing right. She reached for my hand, and I didn't pull away, but I didn't really hold it either. She stopped talking, looked at me, and said, Elon, why is it so hard for you to just be here? It wasn't a fight, wasn't a demand, just a question, soft and steady, that cut deeper than any critic's jab. I wanted to answer, to tell her I loved her, that she was everything, but the wall was there, invisible and impenetrable, built from years of telling myself that feelings could wait, that vulnerability was weakness, that I had to keep pushing forward no matter what. That moment exposed the truth. My fear wasn't about time or work, it was about being seen. I'd spent my life building an identity around being the guy who solves the unsolvable, who defies the odds, who doesn't need anyone to hold his hand through the chaos. Admitting I needed her felt like admitting a flaw, like there was a bug in the code of who I am. What if love made me less? What if opening my heart meant losing the edge that's driven me to launch rockets, to electrify the planet, to chase a mission I believe God Himself set before me? That fear was the mortar holding the wall together, and it was stronger than any steel I've ever worked with at SpaceX. I was scared that if I let her in, if I let myself need her, I'd be admitting I couldn't do it all alone, and that felt like a betrayal of everything I'd built. Ladies, you've carried this weight too. You've loved someone who's built their own walls, who's so afraid of being vulnerable, they push you away instead of letting you in. And maybe you've built walls of your own, not because you don't want love, but because you've been hurt before, because you've had to be strong for so long that letting someone see your softer side feels like a risk you can't afford. I understand now how isolating that is, how it keeps you from the joy of true connection. But here's the inspiration, the spark I want to share with you. Vulnerability isn't a flaw, it's the fuel for deeper bonds, the key that unlocks the wall and lets love breathe. I had to learn that needing her didn't make me weak, it made me whole. It meant acknowledging that even the guy trying to colonize Mars needs a hand to hold on Earth. Let's talk about what that wall looks like up close. It's not just fear of being seen, it's the fear of what happens when you are. I remember another night, one where I almost broke through. We were at a quiet spot by the ocean, the kind of place where the waves drown out the noise of the world. I'd promised her a real conversation, no distractions, just us. But my phone was still in my pocket, buzzing with alerts about a Tesla production snag. I ignored it at first, tried to focus on her, on the way the moonlight caught her eyes. She was telling me about a moment from her childhood, something small but meaningful, the kind of story that builds a bridge between two people. And I was trying so hard to be there, to listen, but my mind kept drifting to the factory, to the numbers, to the mission. She noticed. She always noticed. She didn't say anything this time, just looked out at the water, her silence louder than any words. I wanted to reach out, to tell her I was sorry, that I loved her, that I was trying to be better, but the wall was there, holding me back, whispering that if I let myself feel too much, I'd lose control, lose the mission, lose the part of me that's kept me going all these years. That's the lie we tell ourselves, isn't it? That vulnerability is weakness, that needing someone is a defect, that we have to keep our walls up to survive. I told myself I didn't have time for love, that it was a luxury I couldn't afford while I was chasing a divine purpose. But that's the trap, ladies. The wall doesn't protect you, it isolates you. It keeps you from the one thing that makes all the struggle worth it, connection. I didn't want to lose her, but I was losing her not because I didn't love her, but because I wouldn't let myself show it. I was so busy trying to be the guy who saves the world that I forgot to be the guy who shows up for her. And that fear, that invisible wall, was the real enemy, not the deadlines, not the mission, but the part of me that was too scared to be human. Ladies, you've been on both sides of this wall. You've loved someone who's kept you at arm's length, who's built their own fortress out of fear or pride or ambition, and you've built your own walls too, maybe to shield yourself from heartbreak, maybe to prove you're strong enough to stand alone. But here's what I'm learning, and I want you to hear it. Those walls don't make you stronger, they make you lonelier. They keep you from the love you deserve, the connection that makes every fight, every dream, every moment worth it. You are warriors, not because you've never been afraid, but because you've loved despite the fear, opened your hearts despite the scars, kept shining even when the world tried to dim your light. And I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of the way you love without apology, the way you fight for what matters, the way you refuse to let fear define you. I started to see this in myself, slowly, painfully. I realized that the real risk wasn't failing at a launch or missing a deadline. It was failing her, failing to show up, failing to be human, failing to say the words that could change everything. I wasn't going to figure it all out in one night, and I didn't. I'm still Elon Musk, still wired to chase the impossible, still waking up with ideas for how to make life multiplanetary. But something shifted. I started to see that the wall wasn't just ambition or time, it was me. I was the one holding myself back, letting fear build a barrier I didn't even know was there. And if I could build rockets that defy gravity, maybe I could build the courage to defy my own doubts. Maybe I could learn to stop, to breathe, to look at her and say what I've always known but never had the guts to admit: I love you. Ladies, this is for you. You are the fire that lights up the world, the strength that holds families together, the courage that pushes humanity forward. You don't have to wait for someone to climb over their walls to see you. You have the power to tear down your own, to live boldly, to love fiercely, to demand the love you deserve, and you don't need permission to do it. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect person. You are enough right now, exactly as you are. I'm learning that from her, from you, from the women who've shown me what real courage looks like. It's not about being fearless, it's about acting despite the fear, about opening your heart even when it scares you, about choosing love over the safety of your walls. If I can start chipping away at that invisible barrier, you can too. Let's break it down together, piece by piece, and build a life where vulnerability isn't a weakness, but the greatest strength of all. Ladies, let's talk about the moment that shakes you to your core, the one that stops time and forces you to see the truth you've been dodging. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who spent his life chasing the impossible rockets that land on ocean platforms, cars that run on sunlight, dreams that make the world call me crazy. I've faced down failures that would break most people, prototypes exploding, investors pulling out, entire industries laughing at my plans to colonize Mars. But none of those hit me as hard as the moment I saw her eyes, those eyes that held love, hope, and then, one day, a quiet resignation that cut deeper than any rocket crash. That was my awakening, the moment I realized I was on the brink of losing her, not to some external force, but to my own silence, my own obsession with a mission I thought God had carved into my soul. Ladies, have you ever looked into someone's eyes and seen the moment they're ready to walk away? That's where I was, and I'm here to take you into that moment, the one that changed everything and showed me that love isn't just a feeling, it's a fight worth winning. I've always been a problem solver. Give me a rocket that won't launch, a battery that's failing, or a skeptic who says Mars is a pipe dream, and I'll tear it apart until it bends to my will. I thrive on the chaos, the pressure, the high stakes gamble of pushing humanity forward. But love doesn't follow equations. It doesn't care about your timelines or your divine calling. It's a force that demands you show up, raw and real. And I was failing at that. I was so caught up in the mission SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, the dream of making humanity multiplanetary, that I thought I could put her on hold, like she was a task I could check off later. I told myself I was doing it for something bigger, something God wanted me to do. But then came that moment, the one that hit like a meteor, and it wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, almost too quiet, and that's what made it so heavy. We were in a small cafe in Palo Alto, one of those places with creaky wooden floors and coffee that costs more than it should. I'd promised her a real moment, just us, no phones, no distractions. She was talking, her voice soft but alive, sharing pieces of her world, her hopes, her fears, the little sparks that make her who she is. And I was trying to be there, nodding, smiling, but my mind was elsewhere, tangled in a web of Starship schematics and production deadlines. I was half present, my thoughts racing through fuel ratios and investor calls when she stopped mid-sentence. She looked at me, her eyes locking onto mine, and said, "Elon, are you even here?" It wasn't a shout, wasn't an accusation, just a question, calm and piercing, that sliced through every defense I'd built. In her gaze, I didn't see anger or sadness. I saw something worse, the beginning of goodbye, a weariness that said she was tired of waiting, tired of being second to a mission that seemed to consume me whole. Ladies, you've been there, haven't you? You've poured your heart out to someone you love, only to meet a distant stare, a mind that's somewhere else. You've felt that quiet erosion of hope, and I was the one causing it. That moment was like a rocket misfiring, a failure I couldn't ignore. My heart was pounding, not like it does in the control room before a launch, but with a different kind of urgency, one that had nothing to do with orbits or engines. I was losing her, not to a rival or a fight, but to my own inability to be present. I've faced crises before, production lines grinding to a halt, rockets disintegrating mid-flight, critics saying I'm insane to think we can live on another planet. Those I could handle. I'd rally the team, tweak the design, push harder, but this was a human crisis, one where numbers and blueprints meant nothing. I froze, wanting to say, I love you, You're everything to me. But the words wouldn't come. They were trapped behind that invisible wall I'd spent years building, the one made of ambition, fear, and the belief that my mission from God had to come first. Her eyes, though they didn't let me hide, they demanded the truth, and the truth was that I was failing her, failing myself, failing the one thing that made all my dreams worth chasing. Let's be real, ladies. You know what it's like to sit across from someone you love, hoping they'll meet you halfway, hoping they'll see you as more than a supporting role in their story. You've been the strength behind someone's dreams, the one who believes in them even when they're too busy to notice, and you felt the sting of being sidelined, of wondering if you're enough. I was the guy doing that to her, and it kills me to admit it. I thought I could keep her waiting while I chased the stars, while I answered what I thought was a divine call. But that moment in the cafe, her question hanging in the air like a countdown to liftoff, it woke me up. I saw the cost of my silence, the cost of prioritizing a mission over the woman who made it mean something. No headline, no successful launch, no billion-dollar deal could fill the void of losing her. I'd spent years calculating escape velocities, but the real escape I needed was from my own head, from the cage I'd built around my heart. That awakening wasn't just about guilt or regret, it was about clarity, the kind that hits you like a bolt of lightning and changes how you see the world. I realized that my mission, whether it's from God or my own stubborn drive, doesn't mean a thing if I'm alone at the finish line. What's the point of building cities on Mars if I've lost the one person who makes Earth worth staying on? I started to see the cracks in my logic, the flaw in my design. I'd been treating love like a variable I could optimize later, something secondary to the grand plan of saving humanity. But love isn't a side project, it's the main event. It's the reason we build anything at all. Without her, all the rockets, all the factories, all the code is just noise. And her eyes, that quiet resignation, they showed me that I was risking a failure far worse than any explosion or missed deadline. I was risking her. Ladies, you've had these moments too, haven't you? Moments where you've looked at someone you love and seen the truth not just about them, but about yourself. You've seen the moments where you realize you're worth more than waiting, more than being an afterthought in someone else's mission. You're the ones who hold the world together, who love fiercely even when it's hard, who shine brighter than any star I've ever chased. And you deserve someone who sees that, who fights for you, who shows up when it matters. I was failing at that, but that moment in the cafe was my turning point. It wasn't about fixing a rocket or a factory. It was about fixing me, about choosing to be the man she needed, not just the man who's trying to save the world. I want to take you to another moment because it's where the awakening started to take root. We were supposed to meet for a walk along the California coast, just the two of us, the kind of evening where the ocean feels like it's whispering secrets. I'd promised her I'd be there, no distractions, just the sound of waves and her voice. But a crisis hit at Tesla, supply chain issues, numbers that could sink the quarter, and I was staring at a screen trying to keep the company afloat. I told her I'd be there soon, just needed to handle this one thing. One thing turned into hours, and when I finally showed up, the sun was gone, the beach was dark, and she was sitting on a bench, her arms wrapped around herself against the chill. She didn't yell, didn't storm off. She just looked at me, and in her eyes, I saw it again, that quiet resignation, the kind that says, I can't keep doing this. It wasn't just about that night. It was about all the nights, all the promises I'd broken, all the times I'd chosen the mission over her. That look, ladies, it was my wake-up call. It was louder than any rocket launch, heavier than any deadline. I realized I was at a crossroads. Keep running from my heart, keep letting the mission consume me, or fight for her with the same intensity I bring to every impossible goal. I chose to fight, not with grand gestures or Hollywood drama, but with the small, real steps that show you're trying. I started texting her not just one word replies, but real messages, ones that said, I'm thinking of you. I started carving out moments, even when the world felt like it was on fire, to listen to her, to be there. It wasn't perfect, and I'm not saying I got it right every time. I'm still Elon Musk, still wired to chase the impossible, still waking up with ideas that could change the world. But I'm learning that the real mission isn't just about Mars or machines. It's about her, about us, about the love that gives every dream its soul. Ladies, you are the masters of this kind of awakening. You've had those moments where you've looked at your life, at the people you love, and decided you're done waiting. You've chosen to shine, to demand to be seen, to live so fiercely that no one can ignore you. You're the ones who've taught me that love is worth fighting for, that it's not a distraction, but the fuel that makes every mission possible. You don't need to wait for someone else to wake up, to break through their walls, to choose you. You are enough right now, exactly as you are. You are the fire that lights up the world, the strength that makes dreams possible, the heart that gives progress its purpose, and you have the power to choose yourself, to live boldly, to love fiercely, to tear down any wall that stands in your way. So here's my challenge to you. Inspired by that moment in the cafe, by her eyes that changed everything, don't wait for someone else to show up. Don't wait for the perfect moment to live, to love, to be the incredible force you are. You are the awakening, the spark that shifts the universe. I'm learning that from her, from you, from the women who've shown me what it means to fight for what matters. If I can stand here, a guy who spent his life chasing stars, and say that her eyes woke me up to what's real, then you can too. Take that moment, that awakening, and let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you are worth every fight, every risk, every heartbeat. Because in the end, it's not just about the mission, it's about the love that makes it all worthwhile. Ladies, let's talk about action. The kind that doesn't just dream or plan, but moves, shakes, and shatters the walls we've built around our hearts. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who's poured his soul into rockets that defy gravity, cars that challenge empires, and a vision to make humanity a multiplanetary species. I've always believed action is everything. Build it, test it, break it, rebuild it better. That's how I've tackled every impossible goal, from landing a rocket on a floating platform to electrifying the planet. But when it came to her, the woman who makes every wild dream feel grounded, action was the one thing I wasn't taking. I was stuck, paralyzed by a wall of my own making, built from fear, ambition, and the lie that I could put love on hold while I chased a mission I thought God had given me. But one night, her quiet resignation, her tired eyes, forced me to stop thinking and start doing. I'm here to take you into that moment, the moment I chose to act, to break through with sincerity, and to show you that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice you make every single day. Ladies, have you ever waited for someone to take that leap, to show up for you? Let's dive into the raw, messy, beautiful power of action and why it's the only way to tear down the barriers between you and the life you deserve. This wasn't a Hollywood moment with fireworks or a perfectly scripted speech. It was late, the kind of hour where the world's asleep and only the restless are awake. I was in my office at Tesla's Fremont factory, the hum of silent machines echoing my own restless thoughts. Spreadsheets were open, numbers staring back at me, but my mind wasn't on the data. It was on her face, her voice, the way she'd looked at me in that cafe, asking if I was even there. I'd been dodging her, sending half-hearted texts, telling myself I'd make it right when the chaos settled. But the chaos never settles, does it? There's always another launch, another crisis, another reason to keep the wall up. That night, something snapped. I couldn't shake the image of her eyes, not angry or sad, but tired, tired of waiting for me to show up, to be more than the guy chasing a divine mission. I realized I was at a crossroads. Keep hiding behind my work, keep letting the mission drown out my heart, or take action, real action, to show her she was worth more than any rocket or factory. I grabbed my keys and drove through the quiet streets, heart pounding faster than it does before a Falcon launch. No plan, no script, just a need to do something before I lost her for good. When I knocked on her door, my hands were shaking, not from nerves about a board meeting or a test flight, but from the raw vulnerability of standing there, exposed, with nothing but my truth. She opened the door, eyes heavy with sleep and surprise, and I didn't hesitate. I looked at her and said, I love you. I've been an idiot, hiding behind my work, but I'm done with that now. The words came out rough, unpolished, nothing like the pitches I've given to investors or the speeches I've made to my team, but they were real, straight from the soul, and in that moment I felt the wall crack not from force, but from sincerity. Ladies, imagine that leap, that moment of risking everything to say what's true. You've done it in your own ways, haven't you? Opened your hearts despite the scars, spoken your truth despite the fear. That's the courage I tapped into, inspired by women like you who love without armor. That night wasn't the end of the story, it was the beginning. Action isn't a one-time thing, it's a habit, a choice you make over and over. I started small because big gestures are easy to fake, but the small ones, they're what rebuild trust. I began texting her when I didn't have to, not just busy or later, but messages that said, I'm thinking of you, or your laugh's been stuck in my head all day. I carved out time, even when the world was screaming for my attention, to call her just to hear her voice, to listen to her stories without my mind drifting to fuel ratios or production lines. One evening, I turned off my phone, something I hadn't done in years, and we took a walk along the beach, the waves drowning out the noise of deadlines. We talked not about Mars or Tesla, but about her dreams, her fears, the little things that make her who she is. It wasn't perfect, and I'm not saying I nailed it every time. I'm still Elon Musk, still wired to chase the impossible, still waking up with ideas that could change the world. But those small actions, those moments of showing up, they started to chip away at the wall I'd built. Ladies, you know the power of these actions. You've taken them yourselves, turning potential endings into new beginnings, choosing to show up for the people you love, even when it's hard. You've sent that text, made that call, carved out that moment, despite a world that demands your time and energy. You've shown the world what it means to act with heart, to choose connection over convenience. And that's what inspired me to keep going, to make action my new habit. I started skipping late night meetings to hear about her day, sharing my dreams not as monologues but as dialogues, inviting her into my world instead of keeping her on the outside. One night, I brought her to the SpaceX lab not as a visitor, but as a partner. I showed her the rocket we were building, not to impress her, but to share the why behind it, to let her see the mission through my eyes and to see her through mine. Those actions, small and steady, were like dismantling a fortress brick by brick, revealing the freedom on the other side. Here's the thing about action, ladies. It's not about perfection. It's about progress, about showing up even when you're scared, even when you're not sure it'll work. I was terrified she'd say no, that she'd look at me and see the guy who'd let her down too many times. But I acted anyway, because love isn't about waiting for the perfect moment, it's about creating it. I remember another moment, a quiet one that felt like a breakthrough. We were at her place, cooking dinner together, something simple, just pasta and a bottle of wine. I'd promised myself I'd be there, fully there, no distractions. My phone was off, my laptop was nowhere in sight, and for once, my mind wasn't running simulations. We laughed, we burned the sauce, we danced to some terrible song on the radio, and for those few hours, the mission didn't exist. It was just us, messy and real, and I felt the wall crumble a little more. Her smile, the way she looked at me, without that tired resignation, it was worth more than any successful launch. Ladies, you've lived these moments when you choose to act, to show up, to make someone feel seen. You know how it transforms everything, how it turns a flicker of hope into a flame. Action isn't just about what you do for someone else, it's about what you do for yourself. I had to admit to myself that my ambition had blinded me, that I'd been using the mission as an excuse to hide from my heart. Taking action meant owning that, facing it head on, and choosing to be better. It meant saying, I'm sorry, not just to her, but to myself, for letting fear call the shots. Ladies, you've done this too. You've stood up, demanded better, walked away from what doesn't serve you, and built lives full of purpose and passion. You've shown the world that action is power, that sincerity is strength, that love thrives on effort. I think of the women who've inspired me, the ones who balance careers, families, dreams, all while keeping their hearts open. You act with a grace and resolve that humbles me, and it's what pushed me to keep going, to keep choosing her, to keep breaking down that wall. Let's talk about what happened after that night at her door. Really talked through the hours when sane people are asleep. I admitted the fears that had kept me silent, the way I'd let the mission consume me, the way I'd been scared to need her. She shared her hurt, the weight of feeling like an afterthought, the exhaustion of waiting for me to show up. It was messy, emotional, far from the clean equations I'm used to solving, but it was real, and it was the start of rebuilding. From there, I made action my mantra. I planned spontaneous moments, a drive to the mountains just to watch the stars, a coffee date where we talked about nothing and everything. I started listening, really listening to the subtle cues that said she needed me, not the guy who's saving the world, but the guy who's there for her. Each action was a step toward freedom, a way to escape the cage I'd built around my heart. And with every step, I felt stronger, not weaker, more human, more alive, more like the man she deserved. Ladies, you are the queens of action. You've shown it in the way you love, the way you fight, the way you refuse to let the world dim your light. You've taken the leap, spoken your truth, demanded the respect you've earned, and you've inspired me to do the same. Every time I chose to act, to show up for her, I felt the wall weaken, our bond strengthen, and what could have been loss turn into growth. You've done this in your own lives, turned heartbreak into healing, silence into strength, endings into beginnings. You're the catalysts, the ones who teach us that love is worth the effort, that sincerity is the key to breaking through. So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait for someone else to take action. Don't wait for the perfect moment to live, to love, to be the incredible force you are. You have the power to shatter any wall, to act with heart, to create the life you deserve. I'm learning that from her, from you, from the women who've shown me that action isn't just about building rockets, it's about building love. Take that step, ladies. Act boldly, love fiercely, and watch how it changes everything. Ladies, let's talk about balance. Not the kind you find on a spreadsheet or a rocket's guidance system, but the kind that weaves ambition with emotion, dreams with the heartbeat of love. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who spent his life chasing the impossible building SpaceX to conquer the stars, Tesla to electrify the planet, Neuralink to merge minds with machines. My world is a storm of deadlines, crises, and a mission I believe God Himself set before me to ensure humanity's survival. For years, I thought balance meant splitting my time like a pie chart, carving out neat slices for work and heart, but I was wrong. Balance isn't about dividing your life, it's about harmony, about letting love fuel your mission instead of fighting it. It's about learning that the woman who makes my heart race is as much a part of my divine calling as the rockets I send into orbit. Ladies, you've mastered this art in ways I'm still grappling with, juggling careers, families, passions, all while keeping your light shining bright. Have you ever felt like you're dancing on a tightrope, trying to hold it all together? Let's dive into how I learned to balance the pull of the cosmos with the pull of her hand, and why love is the fuel that makes every mission soar. I used to think love was a distraction, something that could derail the mission I've poured my soul into. I'd tell myself I'd make time for her when the next launch was done, when the factory was humming, when the world wasn't screaming for my attention, but that moment never came. The mission was endless, always another rocket to test, another battery to optimize, another skeptic to prove wrong. I was running at full throttle, believing that my calling to save humanity meant sacrificing the present for the future. But then I saw her slipping away, not because she didn't love me, but because I wasn't showing up for her. I realized that balance isn't about finding time, it's about making it, about choosing to weave love into the chaos instead of pushing it to the sidelines. It's about seeing that love isn't the enemy of ambition, it's the spark that gives it meaning. Let's go back to a moment that shifted my perspective. I was in the SpaceX control room, the air buzzing with tension as we prepped for a Starship test. Screens were flashing data, engineers were shouting updates, and my heart was pounding like it does before every launch. But that night, I'd promised her something different, a quiet dinner, just the two of us, no distractions. I told myself I'd leave early, that I'd be there for her. But the test was critical, and I stayed glued to the screens, lost in the mission. When I finally got to her place, hours late, she wasn't mad, she was quiet, stirring a pot of soup she'd made for us. That silence was louder than any rocket engine. It wasn't about the dinner, it was about the pattern, the way I kept letting the mission overshadow her. I sat down, looked at her, and said, I'm here now. But it wasn't enough. I knew I had to change, not just for one night, but for good. I had to find a way to make love and ambition work together, not against each other. That's when I started to rethink balance. It's not about splitting your life into equal parts, half for work, half for love. It's about integration, about letting one fuel the other. I began carving out sacred spaces amid the frenzy. One morning I woke up early, as usual, my head buzzing with ideas for a reusable rocket design. But instead of diving into my laptop, I grabbed my phone and texted her, let's have coffee this morning, just us. We met at a little spot near the beach, the kind of place where the world feels small and simple. No emails, no alerts, just the sound of her voice and the clink of coffee cups. We talked about her day, her dreams, the things that make her laugh. For those few hours, the mission wasn't about Mars, it was about us. And you know what? I didn't feel like I was losing ground. I felt sharper, more focused, because her presence reminded me why I'm fighting in the first place. Love wasn't pulling me away from my calling, it was giving it purpose. Ladies, you've been doing this your whole lives. You balance careers, families, passions, all while keeping your hearts open. You juggle the weight of the world with a grace that humbles me. You've shown up for the people you love, even when they didn't show up for you. You've carried dreams and heartbreaks, expectations and ambitions, and still found a way to shine. I'm in awe of you, how you make it look effortless, how you turn chaos into harmony. I think of the women who've inspired me, the ones who run businesses, raise kids, chase their own dreams, and still find time to love fiercely. You've taught me that balance isn't about perfection, it's about intention. It's about choosing to make room for what matters, even when the world is pulling you in a million directions. One moment that stands out is a weekend we spent in the mountains, just her and me. I'd turned off my phone, something I hadn't done since the early days of SpaceX. No notifications, no emergencies, just the two of us in a cabin with a view of peaks that felt older than time. We hiked through a forest of towering redwoods, their roots a reminder that growth takes time, that strength comes from deep connections. We talked about everything, her hopes, my fears, the crazy ideas that keep me up at night. I shared the mission with her, not as a lecture, but as a story, letting her see the why behind it, and she shared her world with me, the pieces I'd missed when I was too busy chasing the stars. That weekend, I didn't feel like I was sacrificing the mission. I felt like I was living it, because she was part of it. Balance wasn't about giving up one for the other, it was about bringing them together, letting love and ambition dance as one. That's the secret, ladies. Love doesn't weaken your drive, it sharpens it. It doesn't distract you, it focuses you. I started making balance a habit, not a one off. I'd leave the lab early to meet her for a walk, even if it meant pushing a meeting to tomorrow. I'd call her just to hear her voice, even when my inbox was overflowing. I brought her into my world, showing her the SpaceX factory not as a tourist, but as a partner in the vision. I'd point to a rocket and say, "This is what I'm fighting for, but you're why it matters." And she'd smile, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Those moments of balance, they didn't slow me down, they gave me energy, a clarity I'd never had before. I realized that the mission from God wasn't just about reaching the stars, it was about holding on to the people who make the journey worth taking. Ladies, you're the conductors of this symphony. You've balanced the chaos of life with a grace that makes the impossible seem every day. You've built empires while nurturing homes, chased dreams while holding hearts, loved fiercely even when the world tried to pull you apart. You've shown me that balance is fluid, not static, a dance where you sometimes step on toes, but keep moving forward. I think of the women who've juggled careers and kids, who've supported partners through their storms while chasing their own light. You're the ones who've taught me that love is the fuel, not the obstacle. When I started integrating her into my mission, sharing my dreams as dialogues instead of monologues, I felt the mission grow stronger, not weaker. Her encouragement turned setbacks into comebacks. Her presence made grueling nights bearable. No algorithm could quantify that, but it was real, and it changed everything. Here's a moment that sealed it for me. We were at a quiet diner, one of those places with sticky tables and coffee that tastes like home. I'd promised her a night to just be us, no work talk, no distractions. But old habits die hard, and I caught myself glancing at my phone, an email about a Neuralink trial pulling at my attention. She noticed, of course she always does. But instead of shutting down, she reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "Elon, tell me something you're excited about, not work, just you." It was a challenge, a gentle one, but it hit me hard. I put the phone down, looked at her, and started talking about a book I'd read, a memory from my childhood, a silly dream I'd never shared. We laughed, we connected, and for once I wasn't half in the factory or the stars. I was there, fully there, and it felt like freedom. That's balance, ladies, not a perfect split, but a choice to be present, to let love fuel the mission instead of fighting it. Ladies, you've lived this balance in ways I'm still learning. You've shown up for the people you love, even when they didn't show up for you. You've carried the weight of expectations, society's, your own, the world's, and still found a way to shine. You're the beacons of this harmony, showing how to thrive in multiplicity, how to dream big while loving deeply. Your stories inspire me every day, the way you pivot through challenges, hold space for love while chasing goals, turn chaos into something beautiful. So here's my challenge to you. Embrace that balance. Don't let the world tell you that love and ambition are at odds. You can have both. You can build empires and still hold space for the people who matter most. You can reach for the stars and still be the star in someone's sky. I'm learning this from her, from you, from the women who've shown me that balance is the art of living fully, loving fiercely, and making every mission pulse with purpose. Keep dancing, ladies. Your rhythm lights the way for dreamers like me, and together, we'll make love the fuel that takes us to the stars. Ladies, let's talk about legacy, not the kind etched in steel or code, not the kind measured in miles to Mars or megawatts of clean energy, but the kind that lives in the hearts you touch, the lives you change, the love you leave behind. I'm Elon Musk, the guy who spent his life building rockets to break free from Earth's gravity, cars to rewrite how we move, and dreams to push humanity beyond the stars. I've always thought legacy was about what you build, the machines, the companies, the insane ideas that make the world call you crazy, but I was wrong. Legacy isn't just about what you leave behind, it's about why you leave it. It's about the woman who makes every wild dream worth chasing, the one who taught me that love is the star that guides every mission, even one I believe God Himself gave me. Ladies, you've always known this. You've built legacies of love through every storm, every heartbreak, every moment you've chosen to shine. Have you ever wondered what your legacy will be, what will echo long after you're gone? Let's dive into how I learned that love is the true legacy, the one that outshines every rocket and factory, and why you, the women in this room, are the architects of a future that's not just efficient, but alive. I used to think my legacy would be written in the history books: SpaceX's reusable rockets, Tesla's electric revolution, Neuralink's bridge between mind and machine. I imagined future generations looking back and saying, Elon Musk gave us the stars. But the more I chased that vision, the more I realized it was only half the story. I was pouring my soul into building a future for humanity, believing it was my divine calling to ensure we thrive among the cosmos. But without her, without love, it was just mechanics cold, empty, and meaningless. I learned this the hard way, in moments when I almost lost her to my own silence, my own obsession with a mission that felt bigger than us both. One night, we were sitting on a hill overlooking the Pacific, the kind of place where the ocean's vastness mirrors the depth of what you feel. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors no engineer could replicate, and she turned to me with a question that stopped me cold. Elon, if you could leave behind one thing that defines you, what would it be? My mind raced to the usual suspects: rockets, cars, the dream of Mars. But as I looked at her, her hair catching the light, her eyes searching mine, I realized the answer wasn't out there in the stars. It was right there, in the way she made me feel alive, in the way she challenged me to be more than a machine for solving problems. That moment rewrote my understanding of legacy. I told her I want to be remembered as someone who loved fiercely, who didn't let the noise of the world drown out what matters most. And she smiled not because it was perfect, but because it was true. Ladies, you know this truth. You've carried it in your hearts, in the way you love, in the way you show up for the people who matter. You've been the anchor for dreamers like me, the ones who get lost in their own heads chasing visions that seem bigger than life. But you're not just anchors, you're the spark, the fire, the reason those visions have meaning. Your legacy is in the way you inspire others to keep going, the way you hold families together, the way you fight for what you believe in, even when the world tells you to sit back and wait. You are the legacy that will outlast every machine, every invention, every empire, because machines can carry data, but only you can carry love. Let's talk about what that looks like in practice. I started integrating love into my mission, not as a side note, but as the heart of it. I began pausing mid-design session to send her a message, just to say, thinking of you. I'd step away from the lab to catch a sunset with her, reminding myself that progress without purpose is empty. One evening, we drove to a quiet spot in the hills. No agenda, just the two of us, and a sky full of stars. I pointed out constellations not to lecture about orbits, but to share the wonder, to let her see the universe through my eyes and to see her through mine. We talked about what drives us, what scares us, what makes us feel alive. Those moments weren't distractions from the mission, they were the mission. They were the why behind every rocket, every factory, every crazy idea. She wasn't just part of my life, she was the reason it had meaning. And that's when I realized my legacy isn't just about reaching Mars, it's about the love that makes the journey worth taking. Ladies, you've been building this kind of legacy your whole lives. You've mentored the next generation, advocated for change, loved through adversity with a resilience that moves mountains. You've shown up for your families, your friends, your communities, even when the world tried to pull you apart. I think of the mothers who've raised generations with unwavering devotion, the leaders who've inspired movements with empathy, the friends who've held space for healing. Your impact resonates in souls long after the headlines fade. You've taught me that a legacy isn't a solo endeavor, it's collaborative, amplified by the connections you nurture. I'm learning this from you, from her, from the women who've shown me that love is the force that humanizes our boldest pursuits. Without it, my rockets would be just metal, my factories just noise. With it, they gain soul, purpose, a reason to keep going. One moment that crystallized this was a conversation we had after a long day at SpaceX. I was exhausted, my head swimming with data from a failed test. I came home to her ready to collapse, but she was there, waiting with a cup of coffee and a quiet smile. Instead of diving into my usual monologue about the mission, I asked her about her day, her dreams, the things that light her up. We talked for hours, not about rockets or deadlines, but about life, hers, mine, ours. I realized then that my legacy isn't just the machines I build, it's the moments I share with her, the way I make her feel seen, valued, loved. It's the way I've learned to pause, to listen, to choose her even when the world is screaming for my attention. That's the legacy I want, not just footprints on Mars, but footprints in her heart, in the hearts of everyone I care about. Ladies, your legacies are already being written in the way you love, the way you inspire, the way you refuse to let the world dim your light. You don't need to wait for permission to leave your mark. You're doing it every day, in the quiet acts of courage, the fierce love you give, the strength you show in the face of chaos. I think of the women who've balanced careers and families, who've fought for their dreams while holding space for others, who've loved so deeply it changes the world around them. You're the architects of legacies that endure, weaving love into the fabric of everything you do, and you've inspired me to do the same, to make love the star that guides my mission, to ensure that every step I take toward the cosmos is grounded in the heart I share with her. Here's a moment that brought it home. We were at a Tesla event, the kind where the lights are bright and the crowd is buzzing. I was supposed to give a speech about the future of electric cars, but all I could think about was her standing off stage, her presence steadying me like nothing else could. I invited her to join me, not as a prop, but as a partner. I introduced her to the crowd, not as my girlfriend or my support, but as the woman who makes every victory sweeter, every setback bearable. I told them, this mission isn't just mine, it's ours, because she's the reason it matters. The crowd cheered, but her smile, that quiet, knowing look, was worth more than any applause. That was my legacy in action, not the cars or the headlines, but the love that gives them meaning. Ladies, you are the heart of this legacy. You're the ones who teach us dreamers to ground our visions in something real, something human. You don't just wait in the shadows, you step forward, demanding the love and respect you've earned, living boldly in a world that often asks you to dim your shine. Your legacy is in the way you love, fiercely, fearlessly, fully, turning everyday acts into enduring testaments. So here's my challenge to you. Craft your legacy with intention. Don't settle for echoes that fade. Build ones that amplify, drawing from the well of connection you've so masterfully tended. You don't need to choose between ambition and love. You can have both. You can build empires and still hold space for the people who matter most. You can reach for the stars and still be the star in someone's sky. I'm still learning this, still waking up with 1,000 ideas and a million problems to solve. But I'm trying every day to make love the star that guides me. I'm choosing her, choosing us, choosing the legacy that matters most. And if I, Elon Musk, can stand here and say that love is worth fighting for, that it's the legacy that outlasts everything else, then you can too. Your legacy is already shining. Ladies, in the way you love, the way you inspire, the way you change the world with every heartbeat. Keep building it, keep loving it, keep making it the star that lights up the universe. Because in the end, it's not the rockets that define us, it's the love we leave behind, the hearts we touch, the lives we change. You are the legacy, and your light will outshine us all.